On February 7th, 1976, Darryl Sittler scored 10 points in a single NHL game, 6 goals, 4 assists, a record that still stands 50 years later. Most hockey fans know that it happened, but they don't know the backstory, which is much more complicated than you'd think. A very specific set of circumstances fell perfectly into place, not just that day, but in the days leading up to the game, to immortalize one player and end the NHL career of another. This is the backstory of Darryl Sittler's 10-point night that most people don't know. But first, hit that like button to show the goalie who let in all the goals, Dave Reese, some love, and subscribe for more classic hockey stories. So let's set the stage. It's February 1976, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are struggling. 1 win in their last 7 and 20 points behind the Bruins, who were red hot. And the most loved team owner of all time, Harold Ballard, decides the best thing to do is call out his captain, Darryl Sittler. Days before the Bruins game, he went to the Toronto Star and questioned whether Sittler was a number 1 center. "We'd set off a time bomb if we had a hell of a center in there," he said. Not hard to read between the lines there. And because it's hockey in Toronto, Sittler probably found out about this statement within a few minutes and knew he was on the hot seat. The Leafs' upcoming game against the Bruins was turning out to be more important than most. He needed to make a statement and prove his boss wrong. Making things worse, there was uncertainty about his line. After being shuffled a few times, he'd finally seen some success playing between Lanny McDonald and Errol Thompson. It was starting to click, but Kelly planned to break them up for the Bruins game because he was concerned there was too much firepower concentrated on one line. According to Lanny McDonald, the 3 players approached Kelly after practice before the game and begged him to give the line one more shot to prove they could be effective. And so, Kelly agreed to keep them together for the game against the Bruins. So we were one coaching move away from that 10-point night never happening. You change the lines, you change everything. Anyway, not only did Sittler have pressure to perform, he and his line mates had to perform well to keep their line together. And on game day, everything went wrong. After the morning skate, Sittler fell behind on errands downtown, had to get home for his pregame nap, and was running low on time. So he did something he never did on a game day. He changed his pregame meal. In a rush, he got takeout chicken and fries from Swiss Chalet and ate it right off the front seat of his car while it was still hot. As a Canadian living in the US, I can taste that chalet sauce now. Anyway, that was far from the end of the chaos. His driver was late picking him up, so he was late getting to the Gardens. So, wrong game day meal, late to the rink. If you're a professional athlete, that's the kind of stuff that can throw you off your game. And adding to all of this, his dad Ken was in the building. He'd spent the whole day watching Darryl's brothers and nephews play their own games before making the drive up to Toronto just to see his son play. All of this pressure, and then playing against the red-hot Bruins, seemed to be a recipe for disaster. But this was just the chaos on the Leafs side. Things were even wilder in the Bruins dressing room. As I said, the Bruins were on fire. 17 wins in their last 21 games, first place in their division. They just pounded Pittsburgh 5-1 the night before, but their number 1 goalie, Gilles Gilbert, was out with a knee injury. Jerry Cheevers, who had just been reacquired and was returning after a stint in the WHA, wasn't ready to play. So in net for Boston that night was a 27-year-old backup named Dave Reese. Now, Dave Reese was not a bad goalie. He wasn't like an emergency backup or anything like that. If he had been, the Leafs probably would have lost. Shots fired. Anyway, in 13 starts that season, he had a winning record and was a legit NHL backup on one of the best teams in the league. But here's what most people don't know. Dave Reese, the day before the game, was told his time with the Bruins was done. The Bruins waived him on Friday with GM Harry Sinden telling Reese that this was his last weekend with the team. He'd start against the Leafs and then likely the Red Wings the following game. Knowing the end was near, Reese reportedly went out with teammates for a long and, let's say, enjoyable evening, which obviously is not the best thing to do the night before a game. He claimed he was fit to play, but whatever he was feeling as a result of that night out was nothing compared to what he was about to feel on the ice. He was lit up for 2 goals in the first period, with Sittler assisting on both. Toronto led 2-1 after 1. Not ideal, but not a train wreck. That train wreck was about to happen in the second period. 3 minutes into the next frame, Sittler bats a puck out of the air in front of the net, goal. Then 33 seconds later, on the power play, he scores again. Then, with 8 minutes gone, He fires a 50-footer through Reese's legs. He adds 2 more assists on Salming goals, and by the end of the second, it's 8-4 Leafs, and Sittler's got 7 points. Now, you'd think at some point in that second period that Reese would have gotten the hook. Usually 6 goals is enough to force a swap. But again, the circumstances on that night just weren't normal. At some point in the second period, Coach Don Cherry looked down the bench at Cheevers, who put a towel over his head to say without saying, "Do not even think about putting me in there tonight." And it's not as if Grapes was that fond of pulling goalies anyway. He later said there was no way he was putting Cheevers in. He didn't want to pull Reese regardless. He said his mindset was, "You put us into this mess, now you get us out." Now, between periods, the vibe in the Leafs dressing room changed when Leafs statistician Stan Obodiak ran down from the press box, pulled Sittler aside, and told him he was 1 point away from tying Maurice Richard's record for most points in a single game. "So then I knew," Sittler later said, "when you're having a good game, you're playing an original 6 team, it's in the Gardens, the building's excited. Then starting the third period, I knew there was a shot at tying the record." And sure enough, 44 seconds into the third, Sittler jammed a pass from Salming past Reese to tie Richard's record. And 9 minutes later, he broke the record with a wrist shot. Now at that point, it's 10-4, and you'd think with the game in hand and the record broken, Coach Red Kelly might give his stars a rest, especially considering they had a game the next day. But again, rare circumstances. Kelly played his stars until the end, and when asked about it after the game, he said, "I played for the Leafs the night the Bruins beat us 11-0 here in the Gardens, remember?" With his stars still on the ice with just over 3 minutes left, Sittler went behind the Bruins goal line and banked a pass off Brad Park and into the net for point number 10. Now who knows, if the Leafs were playing any other team than the Bruins, maybe Kelly takes his foot off the gas and we don't get point number 10. Now after the game, Sittler was mobbed by the media. His 10 points was obviously national news. The players were thrilled, well, except for Tiger Williams, who was reportedly grumbling because he was, remarkably, a -3 on the night. Unlike Reese, the night before, the team had a fairly tame celebration because, again, they played the next day. And speaking of Reese, he was supposed to start the next day against Detroit, but Cheevers got the start instead. His time with the Bruins was over. He finished the season with the Springfield Indians, then split the next season, his last in pro hockey, between the Rochester Americans and the Rhode Island Reds. Now, a lesser man would be broken by all this, but Reese used his embarrassment for good. He became a guidance counselor and helped kids who were struggling. "I just tell them what happened to me that night," he said. "You make them laugh about their own failures. I've screwed up, I've been on the bottom, but you don't pick up a towel and cry. You pick up a shovel and get back at it." And in 2016, 40 years after the game, the Leafs, in a very classy move I might add, invited Reese to an anniversary ceremony. He said yes, and when someone asked him how he felt about being part of it, he said something that has stuck with hockey fans ever since. "If you can pick the best guy to score 10 points against you, it's Darryl." That sounds like a man who was at peace with the whole thing, and really, it was just one of those perfect storms. A star center who was challenged by his owner, a rookie goalie who had already been served his walking papers, a coach who refused to pull him, and a Leafs coach who, perhaps because of the memory of a blowout loss against the Bruins when he was a player, showed no mercy. Everything went right and went wrong, and created a memory that we're still talking about 50 years later.